It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
Yeah, what would you say to pastors who are scared to speak out, who are trying to walk the line because they don't want to offend either side?
There's a revival happening. Yeah. This isn't the time to be frightened. This is the time to no longer deny his holiness and his greatness. That not only is Jesus Christ real, the devil is real. And the devil has his hands on the levers of power. And we must be mindful of that. Technology changes the world real fast. There is an attempt to assert centralization when it's clear that decentralization is possible. Maximum sovereignty for the individual. We are made in his likeness. The human face is his hallmark and his signature. We must honor and revere and love one another, but we must refute and repudiate evil wherever we find it, and the culture is steeped in it. Be bold from the pulpit. Be bold among your congregation. That's what I'd say to the pulpits. To the pastors, even though in this instance it is hypothetical. I really got into it for a minute.
I can't take this guy serious. I can't take this. Do y'all know who this guy is? He made a bunch of doofus ass movies back in the early 2000s or something, some years ago. And they weren't funny. And he was one of the highly offensive comedians of that time, right before cancel culture. Cancel culture stopped out. That's why Russell Brand didn't really go anywhere, because cancel culture stopped him. I think he got some type of sexual assault allegations from one of his co-stars, but it's neither here nor there. But I can't take Russell Brand serious. They came to Oklahoma, and this is why I'm playing this, because they were at the University of Oklahoma.
You broke the rules. There is no rule. It's unconstitutional to have a rule.
Tempers flared in the Norman City Council chambers Tuesday night. MAGA hats dotted the audience as members of OU's chapter of Turning Point USA packed the meeting. There, to speak out against council member Helen Grant.
I'm here tonight out of concern for the gross, unacceptable, and violent comments made by two of our city council members.
Grant commented on a Facebook post following the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. In the comment, Grant calls Kirk a, quote, grifting narcissist. Members of Turning Point made their opinions known. Many spoke emotionally, while others chose to stand in silence during their allotted time. Two audience members drove all the way from Tulsa for the meeting to make their voices heard, and they did so passionately.
Rules that have been established in this chamber for decades, by the way. There.
Yeah, I don't care. Okay, back to...
Lane Brown was one of those speakers from Tulsa. Despite being from out of town, Lane says he felt compelled to hold Norman's elected officials accountable. Multiple times throughout the evening, though, Mayor Holman had to disrupt the speakers that weren't following council rules.
I feel like the local rules triumph the Constitution. I should be able to speak freely to whoever I want to. You're an elected official. You shouldn't be scared about me.
Holman says public comments are not required by law, but that he feels they allow citizens to express their viewpoints, if they do so in a respectful manner.
It's one of the reasons I think we see such a high turnover on the city council in Norman.
They weren't the KKK. They were young Republicans.
Specifically.
Who the KKK follow.
Despite the anger and frustration, many Norman residents spoke on a longing for peace, understanding, and respect.
We are all the same. We're fighting each other for no reason. We can all find solutions. We're one community.
It's a bunch of crap.
Grant was unavailable for comments following Tuesday's meeting. The council is planned to be back in session on Tuesday, October 28th at 6:30 p.m.
My question is for Andrew. And first I want to say I also support Turning Point USA. I was a huge Charlie Kirk fan, and I am devastated by his assassination, and my condolences for your loss.
Thank you so much.
My question, actually, though, is a much different tone and about the Super Bowl. I heard that Turning Point was planning an alternative Super Bowl halftime show.
Yes.
I wanted to know if that's true and why.
Yeah, you know, actually, the truth is we are planning an alternative halftime show.
Well, let me give you a short answer, because the actual halftime show isn't white enough.
And it basically was something that memed itself into existence. We joked about it on a show, a streaming show with Tim Pool, me and another guest named Jack Posobiec, who maybe you might know. And the audience response was so immediate and viral, and our inbox was flooded that we sort of said, maybe we should think about this. And then we got a bunch of emails from actual, corporate media saying, is this true? Is this true? And I was like, well, it wasn't, but maybe we should consider it. And I think it was just an organic outflow of the fact that a lot of people are offended at maybe some of the programming that is being planned for the Super Bowl, and maybe some of the commentary that's come off of that. But also, I like to think it's more of a positive thing because, with the memorial of Charlie Kirk, and we had, 120 million people streaming that, and we saw that beautiful worship music, and it was a very uniting moment for a lot of people. Maybe not everybody, but for a lot of people, it was really beautiful. And I think people still had that feeling in their hearts about that.
Who's going to be the entertainer? Who are you bringing in?
We're not ready to make any announcements.
Not ready.
He's making his bid.
This time I'm going to push back against you a little bit.
All right. Well, I kind of like the malicious rabbit. I think
the malicious rabbit.
Yeah.
My question is for Andrew.
About what was up.
My question is for.
Yeah, I'm gonna just say that I kind of watched last year's Super Bowl halftime show. I think the last one I watched was the 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, that one. And on the Bruce Springsteen, that was like I remember watching Janet Jackson, watching her titty pop out. That was great. That was actually great. Let's see here. Did Taylor Swift do one? Beyonce did one. Michael Jackson's tribute was the greatest. Beyonce did her Super Bowl halftime performance as a tribute to Michael Jackson, which people said it was the Black Panther, but I don't know how they got that. But I believe that they were being racist towards Beyonce at that moment, or race baiting, not racist. They were race baiting Beyonce at that moment. She did that in tribute to Michael Jackson, which, whatever, y'all ain't gonna believe me if you don't believe that, then you probably wouldn't believe me anyway. So, but that's what it was.
About what was on that ship, shall we? Let's talk about, when did slavery come to America? It was a white man, England, Jamestown. Nope. This is a document written in Spanish from Spain 100 years before.
Oh, now they finna start blaming the Mexicans.
Okaying slaves to come from Africa into what we now call the Carolinas. This is a 1825 engraving.
I wonder what he means by England. The white people didn't bring it, so like the other white people brought it. Like, what does that mean?
Done by Thomas Jefferson's son. This is the first draft of the Declaration of Independence in Thomas Jefferson's own hand. And it's an amazing thing because when you look at it over here, I wish you could come up close and see it, but it says B. Franklin, J. Adams, and then it has a line, has stuff crossed out in it, and then the changes. So when they made changes, Ben would come in and he'd go like, I want to change that. Scratch it out, B. Franklin, and then he would put the changes in. So this is the first draft. Thomas Jefferson is set up in a hotel room all by himself. He's about 30 years old, redhead, fiery guy from Virginia, not even supposed to be there, but he starts to write this. So I'm going to give you the greatest gift anyone has ever given you, because I didn't get this gift until I was about 58 years old when I first read this document. I've struggled with my whole life how to answer, how could you possibly listen to Thomas Jefferson say all men are created equal when he had slaves? He didn't really believe that. I don't know how to answer that. But you will now, because of what's on page 3. Page 2, it begins with the usurpations. All the things that you would say to somebody you're breaking up with, you know, you don't pick up your underpants, so you smell in the morning, whatever it is. He writes all of these things down, and they're all 1 or 2 lines maximum, until he gets here. This is the last usurpation. His handwriting even changes when he writes this. He's passionate about this. Every usurpation up till here is 1 or 2 lines. This is over half a page. Let me just show you what it starts with. And he, the king, has waged a cruel war against human nature itself, violating its most sacred rights of life and liberty in the persons of a distant people who never offended him, taking their life and liberty and captivating and carrying them into slavery in another hemisphere, or to incur miserable death in their transportation. This piratical warfare about what...
So basically he's saying the Portuguese and Spanish started the slave trade long before England got involved. Okay, let's just say this. that councilman that told somebody that 2 bullets to their family should take 2 bullets to the head years ago, and now you got the young Republicans saying racist slurs now. Either way, it wasn't good then, and it still ain't good now. What the hell are we talking about? Like, you know, we're not at fault for bringing the slaves. We didn't start bringing the slaves over. We just saw a good deal. We saw a good deal, and we flooded the market. What the fuck? Oh my goodness. The Portuguese and the Spanish they brought the first slaves. Remember the Mayflower? The Mayflower, that it was a Spanish vessel. It was not from England, okay? In fact, which flower grows in May? Okay, that should tell you right there. But yeah, this is crap. You know what? We would know this if we were teaching critical race theory in school. Instead of you know, Thomas Jefferson owning slaves, he wasn't the first one. He just continued it on. He said, you know, it was the Portuguese. They started. I treated my slaves good. Matter of fact, I got slave babies. I made babies with some of these slaves. I love them. You love the women. Yes, we know that. That's crazy. You know, if we was teaching critical race theory in class, we could just blame the Portuguese and the Spaniards, right? That'll solve it all, right? Like it won't be our grandparents anymore, or not my grandparents, because you know what side I was on. But you know, his grandparents. He don't want his grandparents taking the blame. Like, they were already here. I was just buying them. They weren't, you know, I didn't bring them here. You know, I wasn't the cruel one. You know, that's just like Jerry Jones. When Jerry Jones is in that picture where the white students are keeping the black students out of the Arkansas high school. And Jerry Jones was like, well, I was just there. I didn't know what was going on. I heard the commotion. So I went to where the group was, and I stood around and watched what was happening. Yeah, you watched with the people who were keeping the people out. What does that mean? You know, birds of a feather flock together, or like, don't get caught up in the crowd. But instead, let's just blame that one councilman for his text messages about putting 2 bullets in the head of another person, instead of blaming young Republicans for the racist remarks that they have been spewing out over time about all races, even Jews. So it's crazy that this. Who hired these people?
No more silence, no more lies. We rise up, we organize. No hate, no fear. Fascists are not welcome here. No hate. When fascists attack,